Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Here is Mubin Naz. I'm from MK Preparations, and today we'll discuss about the most important topic, that is population ecology. So, dear students and candidates, this topic is very much important, and you can prepare it for the preparation of different competitive exams like Punjab Public Service Commission (PPSC), Khyber Pakhtunkhwa Public Service Commission (KPPSC), Sindh Public Service Commission (SPSC), Federal Public Service Commission (FPSC), okay, and Balochistan Public Service Commission (BPSC). So this topic is very much important and interesting. So you need to focus on each and every slide, and it is very much important. And the material coded in these slides have been taken from different source books, which includes the FSC Biology, Federal Biology, Zoology Miller and Harley, Hickman Zoology, Campbell Biology, and Riazul Haq Rammy book. Okay, so the Zoology Miller and Harley includes the 5th and 10th edition from which the material has been taken. Okay, so let's start our topic. So first of all, we'll discuss about the contents that we're going to discuss here. So we'll discuss about the population ecology. Okay, a brief introduction of the population ecology. Population dynamics, which includes the density, dispersion, size, and age distribution. Then about the survivorship curves, about the population growth, that is exponential with J-shaped curve, and logistic growth model with S-shaped curve. Okay. Then R and K selection. Okay, so let's start our topic properly, and at the end, we'll also discuss about some important questions for your expected exams. Okay, so first of all, what is a population? Because we're going to discuss about the population ecology, so we need to mention about that what is population actually. Then we can move to the population ecology perfectly. Okay, so all the individuals of a species that live together in an area is actually a population. Means the organisms or the individuals that are belonging to a same species. Species something when the individuals are going to breed with each other, that have ability to breed with each other. But when we're going to relate the species with the environment and with the time, with the space where they are living, so we'll refer this species as a population. Okay, now what is demography? So the statistical study of the populations make predictions about how a population will change. Okay, so means changes in the population, that how a population is going to change with the passage of time. It will include the immigration, the emigration, the birth and the death rates. Okay, so it will lead to the change in the population size actually, and this is known as the demography. Now, what is population ecology? So, population ecology or auticology, it's also known as auticology, is a subfield of the ecology that deals with the dynamics of species populations and how these populations interact with the environment. Means in population ecology, we'll discuss about the ecology, the population ecology that deals with the dynamics of species. Dynamics, the word dynamics refers to the change in the species number or size. Okay, so because we know that species or populations are not static, they are dynamic collections of the environment. So if at one time they're going to be increased in size, then at the other time they're going to be decreased in size. Okay, so in this population ecology, we'll discuss about the dynamics of species, populations, and how these populations are going to interact with each other in this environment. So it's the study of how the population sizes of species change over time and space. Okay, so it's a simple most definition, means that we're going to discuss about the population sizes of the species that are going to change with the passage of time, and it is dependent on the factors that are present in the environment. Okay. Now, the term population ecology is often used interchangeably with population biology or population dynamics. Means we can also use these terms for referring the population ecology. Okay, so now what is population dynamics? So, the population dynamics refers to the changes in a population over time. Okay, so we have done with that. Population dynamics is actually a change in the population size over time. Okay, that we have already mentioned about. That population is not static. It's going to be increased in the size at one time, and it's going to be decreased in size at another time. So it refers to the changes in a population over time. So population dynamics includes the four variables or the features, or you can say factors. And these factors include the density, dispersion, age distribution, and size. So now we'll discuss about these factors in detail. Okay, so the first one is density, that how density contributes to the population dynamics. Okay, so density is the number of individuals per unit area or volume. Okay, means the number of individuals of a specific species living in a specific area per unit volume. Okay, so example here, the number of oak trees per square kilometer in the Menestessa country, or the number of Escherichia coli bacteria per millimeter in a test tube. So this is actually a density, or you can say the amount of the individuals, okay? The number of the individuals. So here is a short description of density, that it's a measurement of the population per unit area or volume. Now the formula for the density is dP refers to the density of the population is equals to the number, okay, and the space, okay, number of individuals per unit space, number of individuals per unit area, number of individuals per unit volume, you can say, okay. So dP refers to the density of the population, and N refers to the number of individuals, and S refers to the space volume, or you can say area, okay. Now, in some cases, the population size and the density can be determined by counting the individuals within the boundaries of the population. Okay, means we can estimate the density of the population by counting all the individuals of the population that are living in a specific area marked by the specific boundaries. For example, we could count all the sea stars in a tide pool. Yeah, it's possible. In a tide pool, we can easily count all the sea stars that are present there. Similarly, large mammals that live in herds or in the groups, such as the elephants, they can also be counted. Okay. And in most cases, it's impractical or impossible to count all the individuals. Okay. So, how it is possible that we can count all these individuals? It's simple. We'll use the sampling techniques to estimate the densities and total population sizes. Okay. And sampling techniques also include the mark recapture method. If the individuals are not properly marked by the boundaries in a specific area, means we cannot estimate the total number, then the only method is that you can adopt is just to capture and then recapture the organisms. Okay, mark recapture the organisms. Once you will capture the one bird, this method is specifically used for the birds. Okay, that at one time, if you're going to count the number of sparrows in a specific area, then you will capture one sparrow, you will mark it, and then you will release it. After that, you will capture another sparrow, you will mark it and release it. And in this duration, if you just recapture a sparrow accidentally, then it will make sure, the mark will make sure that you have already counted that species or that individual. Okay, so such estimates are most accurate when there are many sample plots and when the habitat is fairly homogeneous. So ecologists estimate the density from an indicator of population size, such as the number of nests, the burrows, the tracks, or the fecal droppings. So all of these are also the processes that can be used for the counting of the individuals in a specific area, or just to estimate their density in a specific area. Okay, it will not ensure you about the final number of the individuals in that area. Okay, so we can also use the mark recapture method to estimate the size of the wildlife populations. Okay. So here we just come to know that you can directly determine the number of individuals by counting all the individuals within their boundaries, or you can adopt the mark recapture method. And the third one is that you can count the number of nests, the burrows, the tracks, or the fecal droppings, and it will give you an estimate or the average number of the species. Okay. Now, what are the factors that affect the density? So these factors include the immigration. Okay, emigration. We'll define these terms later. Density dependent factors, and some are density independent factors. So you can see here, the birds are going to add the individuals in population. Immigration means moving into a population is going to add individuals in that population. Deaths are going to remove the number of individuals from a population. Similarly, emigration means moving out the individuals from one population will lead to decrease in number of that population. So first of all, what is immigration? Immigration is the movement of individuals into a population. Okay. Now, emigration, it's the movement of individuals out of a population so that the population size must decrease. Density dependent factors are those, these are specifically the biotic factors in the environment that have an increasing effect as population size increases. Okay. Means density dependent factors only act when there is something with the density of the population, either it's going to be increase or decrease. So these factors include the disease, okay, competition, and parasites. Okay, so we know that if there is an increasing population size, then there is a chance of some disease taking place in this population. Similarly, and the increase in population size will lead to the competition between the individuals, and it will lead to the attacks of the parasites. Okay. Density independent factors, these are the abiotic factors that affect the populations regardless of their density. Means they will act on the population, either the population is increasing or decreasing whatsoever. Okay. So these include the temperature, okay, the storms, the habitat destruction. So all of these are some natural events that will take place surely. And it's a natural phenomena, so it will take place surely without the concern with the density of the population and the drought. Okay. So you can see here, factors that affect the future population growth. The immigration is going to add up immigration and natality. Natality means the birth rate. It's going to add up individuals in population, and emigration and mortality. Mortality is the death rate. It's going to remove the individuals from a population. So the density dependent factors, they affect the most when densities are high. Okay, so these are very, very much important points. All the points that are marked by the red ink, they are very, very much important. The density dependent factors only act on the population when the densities are very much high. Okay, like the disease, the competition, and the parasitism. So a death rate that increases with population density or a birth rate that falls with the rising density is said to be density dependent. Okay, so death rate and birth rate, both of these are affected by the density dependent factors. So the density dependent factors include the disease, the competition, the parasitism, and the predation. Now, these act to limit the population growth only when populations are large and are therefore good regulators for the population. So density dependent factors cause the populations to have the logistic growth, okay, that is leading to the S-shaped curves. Now, the density dependent factors, the competition for the resources. Now we'll discuss about them one by one. That the density dependent factors, the examples of the density dependent factors. The first one is competition. So it intensifies the competition for the nutrients and the other resources, reducing the reproductive rates. So it's simple, when the population is going to increase, so density dependent factors will attack on that population, like the competition. Individuals will start competing with each other, leading to the reduced reproductive rates. Okay. And the farmers minimize the effect of resource competition on the growth of the wheat and the crops by applying the fertilizers. Okay. Now the disease. Disease is if the transmission rate of a disease increases as the population becomes more crowded, then the disease impact is the density dependent. Okay, so when the population is going to be increased in size, so the diseases will surely attack on the population and will lead to the vanishing of the greater percentage of that population. Okay, so here are the diseases in humans: the respiratory disease, the flu, and the tuberculosis. So because they're going to spread through the air, so when an infected person is going to be sneeze or cough in the environment, so they are going to strike a greater percentage of population in the densely populated cities. Now, the predation. So, predation can be an important cause of the density dependent mortality if a predator captures more food as the population density of the prey increases. Okay. So, definitely, when the population density is going to be increased, then the number of preys are going to be increased for sure. So, the predators will surely have a chance to attack on such population so that they can capture their prey easily, and it will lead to the decrease in the population. So here's an example. As a prey population buildups, predators may feed preferentially on that species, and the population increases in the collared lemmings and lead to the density dependent predation. Okay, so all of these are the density dependent factors: the competition, the disease, and the predation. Now the density independent factors, so they act on the populations randomly without the respect to the density. So a birth rate or the death rate that doesn't change with the population density is said to be density independent. Means if birth rate or death rate is not going to be changed with the population density. So definitely this one is the density independent factor. So it includes the hurricanes, the tornadoes, the fire, drought, and floods. So all of these are the natural phenomena that will attack on the population, surely without checking the points for the density increase or decrease. So they have the ability to cause a rapid increase or decrease in the population. Okay, so they will affect the populations with all the growth patterns. Either it's going to increase or decrease. For example, researchers found that the mortality of the dune fescue grass is mainly due to the physical factors that kill the similar proportions of a local population regardless of its density. Okay. Drought stress that arises when the roots of the grass are uncovered by shifting sands is a density independent factor that can kill these plants. Okay. So it's just dependent on the environment or the environmental factors or the environmental conditions that are available for the organisms or not. Now, we'll discuss about the dispersion. Okay, so dispersion is the pattern of spacing among the individuals within the boundaries of the population. Okay, and it includes the clumped dispersion, even or uniform dispersion, and random dispersion. First of all, we'll discuss about the clumped dispersion. So it is in which the individuals are aggregated in patches, like you can see here. The individuals are aggregated in patches, and it is dependent on the availability of their resources. Where the resources are available, they're going to breed with each other. They're going to increase the population in this specific area. So in a specific area, the individuals are going to populate or clumped together in patches. So plants and fungi, they are clumped where soil conditions are effective. Mammals may be clumped within and on the top of the rotting mushrooms, may be clumped within and on the top of the rotting log. Similarly, insects and salamanders may be clumped under the same log because of the humidity. Sea stars are grouped in tight pools where food is already available. Okay. So the aggregation of these individuals into groups may lead to the effectiveness of the predation or the defense. Okay. So clumped means individuals are going to be aggregated in patches, and from the examples you can justify that it is actually dependent on their needs, where they're going to find their conditions for their living. So they will survive there, they will clump there. Even or uniform. So you can see here, the individuals are evenly distributed in the environment. So the uniform or evenly spaced pattern of dispersion may result from the direct interactions between the individuals. Okay. So some plants secrete chemicals that inhibit the germination and growth of the nearby individuals that could compete for the resources. So animals exhibit this uniform dispersion as a result of the antagonistic social interactions, means they have less social interactions and they are going to avoid the territoriality behavior, the defense of a bounded physical space against the encroachment by the other individuals. Okay, that's why they're going to evenly distribute in the population. Now the random. So in random dispersion, the position of each individual is independent of the other. Okay. This pattern occurs in the absence of the strong attractions or repulsions among the individuals, or where key physical or chemical factors are constant. And plants established by wind-blown seeds, such as the dandidions, may be randomly distributed in a fairly uniform habitat. So you can see here is an example of the random distribution. Okay. So we have done with the dispersion, which includes the clumped, the uniform or even, and then the random dispersion. Now the size. So size is the number of individuals in an area. Growth rate is actually birth rate minus death rate, means natality minus mortality. How many individuals are born versus how many die. So it is actually the size. Size is actually the number of individuals in an area, and it is dependent on the birth rate, the death rate, that how many individuals are going to burn and how many are going to be die. Birth rate minus death rate is equal to rate of the natural increase, that is R. Okay. Now the age distributions. So age structure diagrams divide the populations into three age groups: the pre-reproductive, the reproductive, and the post-reproductive. So distribution of males and females in each group of a population, and it is used to predict the future population growth. So age distribution is simply divided into three phases, and it is going to predict about the future population growth. Okay. So the survivorship curves. Survivorship curves, the survival rate, they are going to be described about the survival rates of the individuals in a population. So the survival rate data in a life table can be represented graphically as a survivorship curve, a plot of the proportion of numbers in a cohort still alive at each stage. Okay. So in this way, you can represent the survivorship curve. Now there are three survivorship curves that have been mentioned here, 1, 2, and 3. Now one by one, we're going to judge the cause, or you can say the reason for these curves. So the first one is the type 1 curve. You can see here the red line is showing the type 1 curve. Okay. So it's a flat at the start, reflecting the low death rates during the early and middle life, and then drops steeply as death rate increases among the older age groups. Okay. Type 1 curve actually shows the maximum number of the survival individuals. Okay. So, to which individuals or the organisms or the species the type 1 curve belongs? It belongs to humans and the elephants, okay? Means the large mammals that produce few offsprings, but they provide them with the good parental care and exhibit this kind of the curve. So, all the individuals that are large, specifically the mammals, including the humans and the elephants, they are providing good parental care to their offspring. So, that's why their survival rate is increased. Now, type 3 curve. It drops sharply at the start, reflecting very high death rates for the young, but flattens out as death rates decline for those few individuals that survive the early period of die off. So, the 3 is for the individuals or the species that are reproducing at higher rates earlier, and their individuals have less chances of their survival. Okay. So this curve is represented by very large numbers of offsprings, but provide little or no care, such as long-lived plants, many fishes, and the most marine invertebrates. Okay, so the fishes, the plants, and invertebrates, they are going to be produced the individuals at the start at very high rate and in very large number, but they are not going to provide the parental care. So ultimately, their number is going to be sharply reduced, as you can see in the diagram. But the type 2 curve, it's an intermediate with a constant death rate over the organism's lifespan. And which organisms are going to exhibit it? These are the ground squirrels, many rodents, the invertebrates, the lizards, and the annual plants. Now the sex ratio. It's the number of males for every 100 females in a population. So sex ratios are usually below 100 because on average, females usually outlive the males. Now the population growth. So the population growth depends upon the birth rate, death rate, immigration rate, and emigration rate. So population now, the formula for this is population then plus birth plus the immigration means adding to the population minus death plus emigration means deleting from the population. And population change is equal to adding minus deleting the individuals. Okay. Zero population growth is when the birth rate becomes equal to the death rate, or you can say immigration becomes equal to the emigration. So there is zero population growth. So if a population is growing at a rate of 2% per year, that means that the two new individuals are added to the population for every 100 individuals already present per year. Okay, so it's representing the 2% per year population growth. Now, population growth shows several types of growths, the exponential and the logistic. So first of all, we'll discuss about the exponential model that is showing the J-shaped curve. The exponential model. A population experiences such ideal conditions that increases in size by a constant proportion at each instant in time. So when this occurs, the pattern of growth that results is called the exponential population growth. So exponential population growth increases the size by a constant proportion at each instant in time, means individuals are going to be increased exponentially, means from 2 to 4 to 8 to 10, okay? So describes population growth in an idealized, unlimited environment. And it is useful to study the population growth in an idealized situation. Idealized situations help us understand the capacity of species to increase and the conditions that may facilitate this growth. Now, per capita rate of increase. A change in the population size is equals to the birth plus immigration minus death minus emigrants. Okay. And if immigration and emigration are ignored, a population's growth rate equals the birth rate minus the death rate. Means you can write this formula two times: birth minus death or immigrant minus emigrant. Okay, so both of these can be used for the per capita rate of increase in population or change in the population size. So the population growth rate can be expressed mathematically as delta n over delta t equals to b minus t. Now, what these terms refer to? Delta n is the change in the population size and delta t is the time interval. Okay, so we can define it: change in the population size per time period or per time interval is equals to the b, means the birth, number of births, and d means the number of deaths. Okay, so this is the growth rate that can be expressed mathematically. Now we are going to change this growth expression. So birth and death rates can be expressed as the average number of birth and death rate per individual during the specific time. So B is the birth rate and D is the death rate. And the small b refers to the annual per capita birth rate, okay? And small m is for the mortality per capita death rate, means B for the annual per capita birth and M for the annual per capita death, and N is the population size. So birth and death. You can also write BN in place of B in the previous formula and MN in place of T. So now we're going to put these values. So you can see here the population growth equation that has been modified here. Now delta N over T means change in population size per time interval is equals to not B minus T, but we have studied that in the previous slide that P birth rate is equal to the annual per capita birth and the population size minus the annual per capita death or mortality and population size. Okay, so we have just put these values here. Now the per capita rate of increase is given here: birth minus mortality. Okay, birth minus death. So zero population growth occurs when birth and death rate are becoming equal. Change in the population size now can be written as delta n over t is equal to r, per capita rate of increase, that is referring as r, and n is the population size. So per capita rate of increase, instantaneous growth rate can be expressed as dn over dt is equals to r instantaneous over n. So instantaneous growth rate can be expressed as Tn over dt is equals to R instantaneous, and n refers to the population size. Okay. So where R instantaneous is the instantaneous per capita rate of increase. Exponential growth is the population increase under the idealized conditions, and under these conditions, the rate of increase is at its maximum, denoted as R maximum. So the equation for the exponential population growth, initially we reduced the equation for the population growth. Now we are going to write the equation for the exponential population growth here. So it's dn over dt is equals to r maximum n. Change in the population size per time is equals to the per capita rate of increase that is showing maximum, and it's been multiplied by the number of individuals, or you can say the population size. So exponential growth represents the J-shaped curve, and the size of a population that is growing exponentially increases at a constant rate per individual, resulting eventually in a J-shaped growth curve. So you can see here is an example of the population of the elephants in the Kruger National Park, South Africa. So you can see here the population is going to be increased with the passage of time in 1900s to 10 to 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and up to 70. You can see here an increase in the population size exponentially. Okay, 2004, then 6, and then 8,000. So it's representing as a J-shaped curve. So, although the per capita rate of population growth is constant, more new individuals are added per unit time when the population is large than when it is small. Now we'll discuss about the logistic growth model, the S-shaped curve. So it describes how a population grows more slowly as it nears its carrying capacity. So in the exponential growth model, we studied that the individuals are going to add it in the population exponentially. But in this case, the individuals are going to be decreased down until their carrying capacity is attained. So exponential growth cannot be sustained for a long period in the population. The more realistic population model limits the growth by incorporating the carrying capacity. So, notice carrying capacity, will define it later. So, in the logistic population growth model, the per capita rate of population growth approaches zero as the population size nears the carrying capacity. Okay, means increase in the population size, like the exponential growth, is going to become zero near the carrying capacity. Now, what is carrying capacity? It's been represented by the K, and it's the maximum population size that the environment can support by the available resources. Okay. After that, the resources are going to be limited in the environment, and the population size is going to be decreased down, not it's going to be increasing. So carrying capacity varies with the abundance of the limiting resources or the factors, which includes the energy, shelter, refuge from the predators, nutrient availability, water, and suitable nesting sites. So if all of these things are available in the environment, then the population size is going to be increased. But a time reaches when all of these things are going to become limited. So at that time, the population size cannot be increased further. So this is known as the carrying capacity of the environment. For example, the carrying capacity for the bats may be high in habitat with abundant flying insects. Yeah, surely, because bats are going to feed on the insects and the roosting sites, but lower where there is abundant food but fewer suitable shelters. Okay. And the carrying capacity for the bats is going to be decreased down when there is abundant food but fewer shelters. Okay, fewer roosting sites or shelters. So the logistic growth model, the per capita rate of increase declines as the carrying capacity is reached. And it starts with the exponential model and adds an expression that reduces per capita rate of increase as n approaches k, means population size approaches the carrying capacity. So you can refer the logistic growth model mathematical expression as the number, or you can say the change in the population size per time, and the per capita rate of increase with the population size, then carrying capacity minus population size over the carrying capacity. So this one is the logistic growth model. The logistic model produces the sigmoid S-shaped curve. So you can see here the sigmoid S-shaped curve. This one is the for the logistic model, and this J-shaped curve is for the exponential growth, and this one is showing the carrying capacity. Okay, K is referring the carrying capacity. Means this limits the growth of the population. So the growth of the laboratory populations of Paramecia fits an S-shaped curve. So organisms are grown in a constant environment lacking the predators and competitors. So logistic model fits few real populations but is useful for the estimating possible growth. Conservation biologists can use the model to estimate the critical size below which populations may become extinct. So you can see here, a J-shaped curve is showing the exponential growth, S-shaped is for the logistic growth, and this one is showing the carrying capacity. After that, the S-shaped curve is going to be decreased down. Now, what is R over K selection? So it's by the MacArthur and the Wilson in 1967. So an important concept in the population is the RK selection theory. So the first variable R is representing the intrinsic rate of the natural increase in population size, and it is density independent. And the second K variable is showing the carrying capacity of the population, and it is density dependent. Okay. Now, what are the features of the R selected species? So they has high rates of fecundity, okay, low levels of parental investment in the young, okay, high rates of mortality before individuals reach maturity. Okay, they have high rates of fecundity. They are fertile enough. They produce large number of individuals in start, but they do not provide any parental care. So their individuals or their offsprings are going to face the high rates of mortality before they reach the maturity. So examples include the insects and the aphids. Evolution favors the productivity in our selected species. Now the case selected species features includes they have low rates of fecundity. Okay, they have low rates of reproductiveness and you can say reproductive potential, and they have high levels of parental investment or parental care to their young ones, and they have low rates of mortality or death as the individuals are going to mature. So initially they have low productivity. Okay, low fertility, they will lead to the birth of the offsprings, and after that they're going to provide a lot of parental care. So this parental care will avoid the death rate of these individuals until they're going to reach to their maturity. Examples include the humans. Okay, evolution in the case selected species favors efficiency in the conservation of more resources into fewer offsprings. Now, what limits the population growth actually? The biotic potential, okay, that is the capacity for the growth, the intrinsic rate of increase, that is the rate of growth with unlimited resources, and the environmental resistance, that is a limiting factor. Now, carrying capacity, we can define the carrying capacity as biotic potential and environmental resistance. So, carrying capacity is the combination of biotic potential and the environmental resistance, okay? What is limiting factor? Any biotic or abiotic factor that restricts the existence of organisms in a specific environment. This is known as the limiting factor. For example, the amount of water, the amount of food, the temperature, all of these are the limiting factors. If we are not providing these things to the environments or the organisms, so in the environment to the organisms, so their number is definitely going to be decreased. Now we have some important questions at the end. So the first one is, which is not the characteristic of the R selected species? So it's the parental care. Okay, R selected species are not going to provide the parental care to their offsprings. Now number two, which is not the characteristic of our population? So natality, mortality, stratification, or sex ratio. So it's stratification. All of the other are the characteristics of a population. Now which one is a case selected species? So it's human. Humans are showing the K selection, and because they are producing less number of individuals in the start, they're providing high parental care, and ultimately they are leading to the survival of their offsprings with the less mortality until they're going to reach their maturity. Now, number four is, what is the most important factor for the success of animal population? So it's the natality or adaptability or unlimited food or interspecies activity. So the important factor for the success of animals is the adaptability. Okay, they need to get adapted in the environment so that nature can select these individuals on the basis of their survival. Now, number five, the formula for the exponential population growth. So this one, the first one, the change in the population size per time is equals to the per capita rate of increase and the population size. Now, number six, human population growth curve is S-shaped, parabola, J-shaped, or zigzag. So we know that it's J-shaped because human population is showing the logistic growth model. Okay, sorry, the exponential growth model because J-shaped is showing the exponential growth model. Okay, a human population is small. There is greater chance of gene flow, genetic drift, mutation, or natural selection. So if the human population is small, so there is a greater chance of the genetic drift, means change in the population size by chance due to some natural processes or events, or you can say by some natural disasters like the diseases. Number eight, in a population, unrestricted reproductive capacity is called the biotic potential. So, unrestricted reproductive capacity is actually the biotic potential, not the birth rate, the fertility, or the carrying capacity. So, unrestricted reproductive capacity is the biotic potential. Number nine, the carrying capacity of a population is determined by its limiting resources. Okay, because we know that the carrying capacity is related to the environmental resources. If the environmental resources are available, so individuals will never reach to the carrying capacity. And if the environmental resources are limited and individuals are continuously increasing exponentially, so it will definitely lead to the carrying capacity to limit the growth of these individuals. Now, number 10, a population is a group of individuals in a community. Okay, so population is a group of individuals in a community, not species in a community, because we know that population is a group of individuals when individuals of the same species when they're living in the same place at the same time. So we have done with the population ecology. This is very much important topic as well as interesting topic. So you can prepare it for the different competitive exams. And I hope you would like the video. And you need to focus on each and every point. Specifically, the points that are marked by the red and the blue inks are very, very much important. Okay, so we'll meet up with the next video with the community ecology. Until then, Allah Hafiz.